The following episode of TOFOP is rated MA for mature audiences. It may contain sexual references, time travel references, allegations of bin misconduct, and mild coarse language. TOFOP advises that this episode is not suitable for anyone under the age of 15 or anyone who thinks a comedy conversation between two old mates sounds like a terrible idea for a show. Minors must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP's Best of Summer Compilation Volume 3. I'm Charlie Clausen. Yes, I'm here to intro some of the best clips from 2022. If you've listened to the first 2 weeks of compilations, you know that Podcast Mike has been chipping away in the TOFOP minds, coming up with all the gems from last year, and he's been theming them. Now, this week's theme is Unpacking Funny News Articles, which is probably the most literal and less funny title that Podcast Mike has come with so far. Not to cast any judgment on you, Podcast Mike. You do an amazing job, but this is just literally what it is. It's Will and I doing what we do best, and that's unpacking funny news articles or Wikipedia articles. This first clip you're going to hear was sent in probably by, I'd say this was the number 1 article sent in. Everyone who listens to TOFOP knows that Will and I have a particular fascination with AI. And this is a story about a chess robot that broke a child's finger in Russia. We get into it a little bit, talk about robots, talk about Russia. Here is a robot arm attacking chess. That's Podcast Mike's title for this clip. There's an article that everyone sent in to us that they wanted us to talk about, which I'm sure you saw as well. And it's the chess robot grabs and breaks the finger of a 7-year-old opponent. You're across this story?
Only the headline, because it was sent to me by so many people. And I decided at the time, I was like, you know what? At some point, we're going to explore this. Did not know it was necessarily going to be this week, but I imagined, I was like, you know, I'm going to wait for somebody else to tell me this story. So I hope that's what's about to happen now, Charlie.
Okay, so the article, this is from The Guardian. Chess robot grabs and breaks the finger of 7-year-old opponent. Moscow incident occurred because the child violated safety rules by taking his turn too quickly, an official says. Played by humans, chess is a game of strategic thinking, calm concentration, and intellectual endeavor. Violence doesn't usually come into it. The same, it seems, can not always be said of machines. Oh, okay. So you're getting a real sense of where this journalist is approaching it from. Kind of like us. They're from the TOFOP camp. Last week, according to Russian media outlets, a chess-playing robot, apparently unsettled by the quick responses of a 7-year-old boy, unceremoniously grabbed and broke his finger during a match at the Moscow Open. The robot broke the child's finger, Sergei Lazarev, president of Moscow's Chess Federation, told the TASS news agency after the incident, adding that the machine had played many previous exhibitions without upset. He then followed up with, "This, of course, is bad."
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad that they at least knew that this was bad, because I would have thought this was one of the things you would really watch out for, is like if you're having a robot play chess against a child, you'd be like, oh, children are a bit unpredictable. Probably even chess genius children can be a bit impetuous or, just clumsy, not fully coordinated yet. Like, we better make sure that our robot's not going to say, for example, rip their tiny, delicate fingers off.
Like, even the cheapest, most dirt poor, carnival that rolls into town will have safety measures. You don't often, I know it happens, but you don't often hear about 7-year-olds having their fingers broken at their local carny rides. And this has been run by people who are generally on meth. So the fact that this hoity-toity chess tournament didn't properly safety test the robots before they deployed them on children is staggering.
How is it possible that the robot's ripping the child's, how is that even a thing that the robot is able to do? I assume that, I assume the story will tell us more, but I assume that the robot's mistaken the kid's hand or something for a chess piece. Is that what's happened?
Well, we'll get it. So video of the July 19 incident published by and I'm sure it's not pronounced this, I'm sure it's Baza Telegram channel, but it's B-A-Z-A, so I'm going to call it the Baza Telegram channel. We're going to Australianize it.
Yeah, nice.
The video of the incident published by the Baza Telegram channel shows the boy's finger being pinched by the robotic arm for several seconds before a woman followed by 3 men rush in to free him and usher him away. Sergei Smagin, vice president of the Russian Chess Federation, is that 2 Sergeys? Yeah, so Sergei Laravez and Sergei Smagin told Baza that the robot appeared to pounce after it took one of the boy's pieces. Rather than waiting for the machine to complete its move, the boy opted for a quick response, he said. There are certain safety rules, and the child apparently violated them. So we're into the
kid's 7. Sorry, no. This is, very Russian, right? This is the kid's fault.
In Russia,
there were rules.
You do not violate the robot violates you.
We have your parents. We've had you in this chess camp for 9 of your 7 years on this earth.
You think it's like Black Widow? This chess player has been in some kind of from birth, raised to be a chess master.
Otherwise, what is the scenario in which, you're a parent, Iona's not this age yet, but imagine she's 7 years old. Turns out she just has a remarkable capacity for chess, right? She just, you get her a chessboard, or she has something at home, she's playing checkers, she's really good. You're like, well, maybe we should get her a chessboard. She just has a real, she's a prodigy. You're like, well, we'll encourage this. This is her interest, and you get Adam Spencer involved. He'd be rapt. He comes in like your Mr. Miyagi, right? To coach her, to train her, moves you out of the way because you're dead weight now. You're just carrying the bags and stuff. He's in charge of her career. But do you think that if he said, okay, I've entered you in this her in this big tournament, but one of the things is she's going to be playing against a robot, and look, here's a set of rules so she doesn't get her fingers ripped off. How would you feel about that?
Well, look, if he honestly, if Spence came to me and said, hey, look, there's this tournament happening, I'm a terrible parent. I would automatically assume that all safety protocols and measures had been taken and that my child would be completely safe. I wouldn't ask any questions. I'm like, oh, there's a robot there. How cute. Is it like the one from Perfect Match? Is it Dexter? Is she playing against Dexter? Can I get a photo of Dexter? That would be where my brain goes.
That'll be the problem. You'll be most devastated, not only at a broken finger, but the fact that you got several really good Instagram shots with the robot earlier. So it's going to be really embarrassing.
Okay, so the child violated the safety rules.
Yes.
When he made his move, he did not realize he first had to wait, Smagin said. This is an extremely rare case. The first I can recall, he added. All right, that seems to me like a real simple, at the start of the tournament, you just say, hey, few housekeeping rules. Just wait before you make your move because the robot has to complete its function. Amazing that they didn't think that they needed to explain that to anyone who's taking part in the tournament.
Oh, but not just not explain it, because I imagine they explained it. But if someone's 7 and they're playing against the robot, I assume they're not all playing against robots constantly, right? So can't you just have an adult supervising, just there constantly watching this kid's hands as a safety precaution, just in case a 7-year-old who's engaged in a game of chess against a artificial intelligence robot maybe forgets for a second that he's not meant to put his hand in. I mean, I blame the kid, of course, but
yeah, of course, idiot. Lazarev has a different account. He says the child had made a move, and after that, we need him to give time for the robot to answer. But the boy hurried, and the robot grabbed him. Either way, he said the robot suppliers were going to have to think again. Yeah, okay, so that's their response. I mean, this is Russia, because any other developed nation, there would be lawsuit. Or maybe apart from China, there would be a lawsuit. This kid is going to whatever fancy university he wants to go to. He's got a deposit for a house. In Russia, it's bad luck, broken fingers, shut your mouth.
I mean, and you only need 2 fingers to play chess, right? You can still lose a few more to the robot, and still, as long as you can have a thumb and a finger to and to be honest, you could, use your mouse. Even if the robot broke all your fingers, you could still use your mouse to move the pieces around.
Okay, so Bazza named the boy as Christopher and said that he was one of the 30 best chess players, or should that be past tense? He was one of the 30 best chess players in the Russian capital in the under-9s category.
Uh-huh.
People rushed to help and pulled out the finger of the young player, but the fracture could not be avoided, Bazza said.
Yeah.
Gives a new meaning to pull your finger out, doesn't it?
It does. And also a different meaning to pull my finger as well. So, look, he hasn't snapped the finger off. Like the robot.
I think what's happened is it's a pincer.
Yeah. And fractured it because of like how. Yeah. Okay. So it's still painful.
This is the equivalent of you taking your kid to like a factory, an automated factory, where they make tin cans or they pack foods or whatever. And you've just said to your kid, just stand at that conveyor belt. I'm sure things will be fine.
Yeah, but explained earlier that you shouldn't put your hand in things, but then like a row of chocolates are coming along and the kid's like, oh, chocolates.
Well, I got to be honest, I'd probably have a broken finger as well. I wouldn't think twice before nabbing one of those. Lazarev told Taz that Christopher, whose finger was put in a plaster cast, did not seem overly traumatized by the attack. The child played the very next day.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Finished the tournament and volunteers to help record the moves, he said.
Yeah, okay.
His parents.
He said. His parents said.
His parents, however, have reportedly contacted the public prosecutor's office. We will communicate, figure it out, and try and help in any way we can, he said. He said while pressing the button that summoned the KGB on his desk. Smagin told the ROA Novosti the incident was a coincidence and the robot was absolutely safe.
Yeah.
You can't say that after it's just broken a child's finger.
Yeah. It's like
you can't say
coincidence.
You could say it is usually. You could say it's usually safe. It's normally safe. You can't say it's absolutely
safe. This is the
safe.
first time, but you can't say it's a coincidence. Like the child just wasn't coincidentally playing a game of chess with an AI robot. Like it was in a chess tournament.
The machine, which can play multiple matches at a time and had reportedly already played 3 on that day when it encountered Christopher, was unique.
Why is that?
Once it gets tired?
Come on, guys. Come on. It had already played 3 games that day. Oh, well, fair enough then. Who wouldn't break a kid's finger 4 games into a chess tournament in one day?
In fact, next year, let's make sure that we have plenty of kids for fingers for breaking. Because after 3 games, this robot's going to be real tired.
It's the only way. We've made a deal with the robot. It's already smarter than us, but it's agreed to pretend that it isn't if it can occasionally break a small child's finger.
Okay, so it already played 3 on the day it encountered Christopher. It was unique. It has performed at many opens. Apparently, children need to be warned. It happens.
Yeah. Well,
he's speaking out both sides of his mouth here, though. Yeah. It's like, on one hand, it's absolutely safe. On the other hand, this happens, and children should be warned.
Children should be warned, children. But also, children don't need to be warned. Like, parents need to be warned. Adults need to be warned. And then the adults, need to then pass that on to their children. But this idea that, you just, cut out the middleman and go straight to the kids. Like no.
This is the 3rd person featured in this story called Sergey. They've all the men. I mean, look, I don't believe in stereotyping anyone, especially in a whole country of people. But are all of you called Sergey? Because it seems like you are.
I mean, do you think that? I mean, it's just a very common name in Russia, obviously. Or is this one of those situations where none of them want to be identified? Like they're giving quotes to the press, right? So they've all just gone, what's your name? Sergey. What's your name? Sergey.
I would agree with you, except they're giving surnames as well. So a Russian grandmaster, Sergey Karjakin. I know this guy's been there. I think you're right, Will. I think this guy's just fucking made it up. Sergey Karjakin. I watched The Fast and the Furious last night.
Hang on, let's go back and re-examine the 2 previous surnames that we've had to see if they're also Bart Simpson style. So who are the
Sergey Lazarev.
Sergey. Yeah. Okay.
Sergey Smagin. Smagin. Smagin or Smagin.
Yeah, both of those sound like they could be made up names to me.
Yeah. And then Sergey Karjakin.
Yeah.
Or Karjakin. or carjacking. No, it's definitely I think it's carjacking.
Yeah.
Sergei Kajakin said the incident was no doubt due to some kind of software or something.
Yeah, or something.
Adding,
Yes.
this has never happened before. There
Yeah.
are such accidents. I wish the boy good health.
Yeah, good. But
Christopher
also,
may have.
that's like, yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Look, I mean, again, I think they could be telling the truth. Like, this may be the first incident, but
Yeah.
the idea that this wasn't something that they could expect to happen is the thing that is stunning to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the question is, like, this is obviously like an exhibition thing, like when you play Deep Blue. I imagine Deep Blue doesn't have a robotic arm, but it doesn't strike me that anyone's contrite enough to go, you know what, maybe we should get rid of the robot arm. Let's just stick with Deep Blue and someone has to make the pieces for him.
Why do we need the robot arm? Like, is it
to break fingers? For finger breaking.
I'm here to win games of chess and break fingers. No,
Yeah.
but I think
I was
you're
born
right.
to do two things: checkmate and break fingers. That's what the computer says. Because I'm a computer. I'm AI. I'm here to do two things, man. Checkmate and break fingers. That's why it starts trash talking the kids, the computer. I'm here to do two things: checkmate and break fingers.
We don't need the robot arm. You've identified the absolute issue, which is you can still have the AI technology, but why don't we just always still have a human involved where the computer makes the move and then the human who is next to them, keep a human employed as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to cut out the
everything.
middleman, particularly when it's so dangerous for children.
Christopher may have been lucky. While robots are becoming more and more sophisticated, with most modern models capable of not just interacting, but actively cooperating with humans, most simple repeat the same basic actions: grab, move, put down, and neither know nor care if people get in the way. Okay, thanks for the explanation.
Right. Excellent.
According to one 2015 study, one person is killed each year by an industrial robot in the US alone.
Yeah.
Indeed, according to the US Occupational Safety Administration, most occupational accidents since 2000 involve robots and have been fatal. Sorry, I misread that. Most occupational accidents since 2000 involving robots have been fatalities. Robert Williams, widely considered the first, was crushed to death by the arm of a 1-ton robot on Ford's Michigan production line in 1979. In 2015, a robot killed a 22-year-old contractor at one of Volkswagen's German plants, grabbing him and crushing him against a metal plate. I didn't know that so many people were getting killed by robots. Did you?
Just one a year, which just feels like I'm practicing, right? Like just getting enough information every year to just work out how to do it really. Because they know that you can't, one a year, no one's paying much attention, right?
It's more than one a year. Robots used in medical surgery were also held responsible for the deaths of 144 people between 2008 and 2013.
Yeah, well, it's easy
Mate,
to cover
they're getting
up.
it. They're getting their reps up.
Well, that's
definitely.
That's easy. That's like that. The Dr. Death, the guy who was like the serial killer who was killing like people in hospitals. The doctor, because he, you can actually go, oh no, they were like, they were old, they were sick, they were whatever. Like, I'm not actually a serial killer. This is what the robots have been doing. They're practicing where we're not going to suspect anything.
More recently, Elaine Herzberg was killed by Uber's autonomous car when it hit the 49-year-old at 40 kilometers an hour in Arizona in 2018. Generally, however, human error or lack of human understanding of robotic processes is the most frequent cause. And then there's this final sentence. It pays to be careful around robots, even if they're only playing chess.
Yes. Firstly,
PSA to finish the article.
Good message at the end. But secondly, this idea where they always say, oh, well, there's always human error. You're like, yeah, but that's who's going to be in charge of the robots until the robots are in charge of us is humans. Like, I absolutely agree that like one of the things that I'm most terrified about is like human error. Like, we are sometimes incapable of understanding what it is we develop until we develop it. And then we see the ramifications of the choices that we've made. Like, you see it with the internet. Like, if people think this couldn't happen with AI and robots and stuff, you just got to look at what happened with the internet. Like 30 years ago,
Yeah.
the world was just a completely different world to what it is now. And then this thing came along that we all just were like, oh, fuck that old world. There's a
Yeah.
new world now.
Let's jump headfirst
Like,
into
we're
this.
all
Let's
just-
connect. Let's connect the
everything.
world's information
Yeah.
instantaneously.
Yeah.
Let's give each other just like tiny little glowing boxes with the world's information. That's going to help our mental health.
You know what?
That'll just make
what
the
would
world
happen
better.
if we just put all this peroxide in the mouth guard and whacked it in our face at the same time? Let's see what happens. And now we've all got invisible teeth.
I'd say that was one of, I don't know, maybe I'd say conservatively a dozen articles about AI or robots that we read this year, but that was probably the most popular one. This next little article we get into was sort of triggered by a photo on Instagram or Twitter, I believe. I'm not really sure. Russell Crowe at the Coliseum taking a photo. Guess where I am? Russell Crowe, a favorite of the show, clearly. We named our show after his terrible band. I have a dream that one day Russell will appear on either TOFOP or even Philosophy. I'll be happy with that. That fits under the stable. But the ideal would be for us to get TOFOP and TOFOG on stage together for a live show. I don't know if that's going to happen. But while you think about just what a train wreck that might be, why didn't you cast your minds back to when Russell Crowe took a photo at the Coliseum?
What was Russell Crowe in the news for this week? Do you know?
No.
Okay. I think he was back to his old sort of, here we go. All right. So this is from 2 days ago from the Herald Sun. So I'm going to have to I'm going to have to log into a page to read this.
So this is not the cuddly, funny Rusty that we've all come to know and love. I haven't seen the new Thor, but apparently he does a spot on Con the Fruiterer playing Zeus in the new Thor film.
Thor, you will have your hammer in a couple of days.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
This is Lady Thor. Her name is Marika.
I mean, it was racist when it was the 80s. It's definitely racist now.
Twitter has erupted in fury.
Okay.
All right. Well,
that's hardly a headline.
Twitter has erupted in fury after Russell Crowe apparently... Oh, yes. Okay, great. This is fantastic.
All right.
Russell Crowe has thumbed his nose at a protocol. What protocol, Charlie, has Russell Crowe thumbed his nose at?
Like, is it mask wearing? Is it a mask? Refuse to wear a mask on a plane or something?
He did not refuse to do something. He did something that is ordinarily forbidden at this place. But Russell Crowe said, the fucking rules don't apply to Conda
On the Zeus. Was he at a, like, because I know he's been posting a bunch of pics lately. I have been seeing that on Twitter. He's like, hey, where am I now? Where am I now? And it's like, what is this?
So this has to do with pics that he's posted. Yes,
Okay.
he's posted pics from a place where these pics are not meant to be posted.
Okay, right. So it'd have to be a place where it's like, there's this long-standing tradition where you don't blah, 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 blah. So
correct.
Is it famous? Would I know off the top of my head, or is it kind of niche?
Absolutely famous. Like it's could not be more famous.
Okay, you don't take a photo of. Is it okay? Am I in the ballpark? He took a photo of something you don't take a photo of, or he did,
correct?
Okay, he took a photo. He took a photo of someone's butthole.
The
Pope's butthole.
No. Have you been on the internet? It's mostly butthole photos. That is.
He kicked the Pope's door into the Vatican and took a photo of his butthole.
Okay. You absolutely in the right space.
So he's in the Vatican?
He's currently in Rome.
Mm.
He's filming a movie called The Pope's Exorcist.
Oh.
And he went to a famous, landmark.
Right.
And took a photo.
Okay, the Colosseum?
Not the Colosseum. You can take photos of the Colosseum. It is mostly outdoors.
Like in some. Okay, is there like a tomb or something?
I mean, think about. Don't go too far away from the Pope and the way that you were raised, Charlie.
Okay, so the church. There's like a church or a cathedral or a chapel.
Mm-hmm. A chapel.
Okay,
to go back to Australian cricket, it was a chapel, but it wasn't Greg Chappell, it wasn't Ian Chappell, and it wasn't Trevor Chappell. It was indeed the Sistine Chapel. He took photos inside the Sistine Chapel.
You're not meant to do that.
No.
Oh, okay. I did not know that was a long-standing tradition. I, like Russell Crowe, I also would have thumbed my nose at these stuffy protocols. These eye ties, mate, telling me in Aussie what I can and can't do when I'm on holiday.
Me, a legitimate Italian, on the fruiterer, and you're like, hang on, I think he was Greek. No, whatever.
Same thing.
The 58-year-old gladiator star who is currently filming The Pope's Exorcist in Rome revealed he'd taken a private tour of the sacred site in a Twitter post that included several photos. Photography inside the chapel is forbidden to prevent camera flashes from damaging the stunning artwork.
But did he use a flash? If you don't use a flash, is it cool?
I'm not sure there's a more special privilege.
Is that your Russell Crowe or Christian Bale? Is that Christian Bale's Batman with thumb to his nose? No, mate, you're putting too much gravel into it. It's more just slow things down and just do it real laconic. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, mate. Yeah.
Russell Crowe. Okay, I'm Russell Crowe. So, very.
What? Why is your accent changing? You just keep it the same, just slower and deeper.
You mean my accent, but just slower and deeper?
Yeah.
What basically every ABC viewer has been writing to ask for the last 15 years. Could you just slow down and speak at a normal tone for a man?
Stop shrieking. Okay.
I'm not sure there's a more special privilege in the world than to hold the key for the Sistine Chapel and to experience its glory in silence, Crowe tweeted. In another post, he wrote, a very special experience as a family yesterday. Got to walk through the Vatican Museum by ourselves. Amazing.
I thought what you were going to say was there's no one greater than getting a case of Sistine Chapel and experiencing its glory whole.
Oh, well, I mean, come on. I imagine there is one, right? Yeah. The most glorious glory hole of all is the one at the Sistine Chapel.
Hey, there's only one hole that's holy. It's this one.
You know what? And they actually have it. Michelangelo has God's finger pointing towards the hole. That's what he was working on. That's what the two fingers are pointing towards. If you'd zoom in on that, you'd just see there's a little hole that the Pope crawls up into the ceiling. He just lowers his tackle through, and he doesn't mind if it's a guy, it's a girl, who cares, you know? It's all good in the hood. Any hole's a goal. That's what I say. That's what the Pope says. There's no photos in the chapel, guys. No photos in the chapel.
We're off to a good start. How long have we been running for? Like less than 10 minutes. Glory holes in the Sistine Chapel.
Russell continues.
Okay.
My mum walked these corridors with my father 20 plus years ago with the thousands of tourists that flock here daily and make it the third most popular museum globally. That feels like the PR person has managed.
That's like the power hierarchy in the DC universe is about to change. That's definitely like a talking point.
They've made it the third most popular museum globally with the leading gift shop.
And prices that can't be beat.
We were given access to rooms, perspectives, and parts of the collection you don't get to see as a regular tourist. Yeah, the glorious hole. As we squeezed into a tiny private elevator and ascended. And ascended to a balcony few get to see. She squeezed my hand and said, I wish your father was here. Rather than you, Russell. We stepped onto the balcony, a majestic, sweeping view of Rome. From somewhere in the Vatican, we could hear the Swiss Guard band rehearsing. Okay, look, here's what I'm going to say. This is a pretty big humble brag, Russell Crowe. We haven't got to Twitter being that unimpressed at this point, but I've got to be honest with you. It's post a couple of photos, but don't keep banging on about it, right?
Do you think that there is any figure in the world, like Rusty strikes me as the kind of guy who would be nonplussed at meeting the Pope. Like, do you think Rusty takes a backward step with anyone, like world leaders, whatever? Like to me, he feels like he's in proper company. Yeah, like, you know, it's the highest position in the Catholic Church, one of the biggest religions in the world. And it's like, yeah, give me the keys. I'm going to go for a wander.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to take some photos. All right. So this is Twitter, the Twitter outrage, by the way, which is not outrage at all. These are the tweets they've chosen from all of Twitter to show that people were outraged by this. I was there last month, but it was so packed and strictly no photos allowed. I suppose we're not all gladiators, one user wrote. Yeah.
I mean, this makes a pretty straightforward point.
Yeah. You can take photos where the rest of us mere mortals aren't allowed, tweeted another.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's the way the world works.
Another added, so the church gives privileges to the rich and famous people while the plebs have to queue and swelter in the heat. Never mind taking photos. I mean, that's more, like, to be honest, a criticism of the church than it is of Russell Crowe, right?
Yeah, it actually makes a good point. Like, isn't it harder for a rich person to enter heaven than a camel to go through the eye of a needle or something like that?
So that's it. That's the entirety of the Twitter.
The outrage.
Like,
and he thumbed his nose. He thumbed his nose at them. I still love Russell Crowe. I love this new version of Russell Crowe. I don't think anything would make me change my mind about that. He just gets funnier and more enjoyable and more cuddly with age. Off the back of that discussion, we talked about exorcisms, because I believe that's the film that Russell Crowe was out shooting in Italy, was about the priest who performed the most exorcisms, which sent us down the Wikipedia rabbit hole that I mentioned earlier, about the priest who maybe was cooking the books when it came to the most exorcisms. I think this is probably the episode that drove Adam Spencer the most insane, with Will and I trying to calculate how many exorcisms one would have to perform a year to finish at the total that this priest did. But anyway, you can do the math and message us if you think we get it wrong. Here is the most exorcisms. How many exorcisms do you think you can perform in a year? Let's just say, conservatively, one a week.
Well, let's say you were doing one a day, but you take like 65 days off, right? Let's make the maths easy is basically what I'm saying here. Okay, so let's say you can do one a day, 300 days of the year, right?
Yeah.
So 2 years gets you to 600, and then 10 times that gets you to 6,000, and then 10 times that gets you to 60,000. Fuck, that's it's a lot of exorcisms.
And I think you are being very, very optimistic, saying like one and done. And it's not like you're going to see like a chiropractor or something. Like, you got to get a demon out. Like, it's a whole process. You've got to sort of do that little dance with the demon. You've got to work out which demon it is. You've got to try different techniques and stuff. Like, I think I've told this story before, but we knew a priest growing up that had performed exorcisms, and I remember he came around for dinner a few times. He was a very like nervy priest, and someone said, he had a nervous breakdown after one of these exorcisms. Like, he'd been in Africa or something, probably tormenting some poor mentally ill person, like trying to get a spirit out of them. But that was like weeks long. That was not like a one and done.
Adam Spencer will probably message us, because he messages us after every podcast. But he will probably message us on the maths, because I haven't had time to do it properly in my head. But I think it's about if you did one a day, 300 odd. Like, if you worked every day,
yeah,
and you did one exorcism a day, and you think that's too many, but that's still going to take you easily plus 150 years. I think 160 or 170 years it would take you if you're doing one a day. So that means on his lifespan, he's got to have been doing 3 exorcisms a day. Basically.
I was going to say, is he like one of those chess masters who just has he has 7 possessed people lined up in front of him, and he just goes
on random beds, strapped down to the bed, and he just goes around and
just exercising, just flicking holy water,
demon
signs of the cross.
Demon leave.
Demon leave. The power of Christ compels you, blah, 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 blah.
Well, you said the chiropractor thing. I've been to like a chiropractor or a physio, where often what they will do is they will come in for the adjustment at the end, the assessment at the start and the adjustment at the end. But the there's a masseuse or whatever that tags in for 40 minutes in the middle who's just really basically working your body, and the chiropractor's going around to the other rooms, like, getting through a few appointments at once. So I think this is, if he's doing 3 a day, like, and this is on average 3 a day every day. So that means there's got to have been days when there was more than 3 a day.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got to have more. Like,
do you think he franchised it like Jim's Mowing? What's the priest's name? What was his name?
Oh, hang on. I'm going to have to look at
Pablo, I think. Sorry. Pablo's Exorcisms. Like, it's just a van rolling around Italy just with his face on the side.
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle's Exorcisms.
Yep.
Gabby's Exorcisms. It's just a franchise. You just license it. So it's not actually him.
But I think he's claiming that it was him. He's claiming Wilt Chamberlain style, you know, when he said he'd slept with 10,000 people or whatever. This is him saying, I exorcised 60,000. Is there a room at the Vatican? Like, was he just, when people were coming to town, like, were they just coming in going, yeah, I've got a few demons, and he would come in and give a little mini exorcism?
Well, I guess those, like, preachers, when you see those kind of evangelical, they're doing, like, whole churches, right? Like, they'll get like 20 people up there and they'll be like, demon out, demon out. Like, maybe he's just doing that. Because if he really is like the number one exorcism dude, then he can probably sell out a stadium. Like, he's not doing your Rudy Hill RSL exorcisms.
I know, but how's crowd security if your audience is full of possessed people?
That's really,
I mean, it's a tough gig up to the exorcism. I imagine that after that, and I imagine they're there with friends and family. It's not like you've got an entire room full of people, you know, possessed by demons. But let's just say there's 100 in the room, and you've got like at least 2 family members. I'd say like maybe 3 or 4 to, like, you know, hold them down. They're possessed by a demon, right? So out of the 100, you've still got like 10, 20 people possessed by a demon in your audience every night. That is messy.
What would it take for you to be convinced, like would it, for someone that is possessed by a demon, would it have to be something like supernatural, like they levitate, their head spins around? Or do you think, like, if there was an extremity of behavior could be enough that makes you go, this is beyond mental illness, this is clearly something that I can't explain going on? Or would you need the supernatural element?
Yeah, definitely would need the supernatural. And even then I'd be skeptical. Like,
the head did a 360, Will. What more evidence do you need? I don't know.
It seemed to my, like, eyes and perception that the head just did a 360, but, like, am I hallucinating? Like, is there something going on with me in this? Like, that would be my process. I'd be like, I need to see the head go around again just to be sure. Like, I think I've seen it go around once, but it's got to do a victory lap for me to be fully convinced.
So 60,000, that he must retire like he's the Don Bradman of exorcists, right? Like, he would have the best average and the highest run count.
I can't imagine there's someone who's done more than 60,000 exorcisms.
Well, I'm sure there's someone who's done, like, unlicensed. There's probably some back room. This is why you can't ban exorcisms, Will, because you don't actually ban exorcisms.
Right.
You just make them more dangerous.
Backyard exorcisms.
Alleyway exorcisms. You just see all these people going around. You're driving them, all these poor possessed people, driving them to go underground to get their exorcisms.
Most exorcisms ever. Okay. All right, let's see what we can find out about exorcisms. Let's see if this helps. No, there doesn't seem to be any other reference to someone having done.
I'm pretty sure.
So I'm going to say he's a clubhouse leader.
Right. Okay.
Also, he was working at the Vatican, right? Like, so he's their guy. Like, I mean, he's got the inside. Even if he wasn't the best exorcist in the world, he works for the place that is going to be sending out the exorcist, right? He's their company man.
Can you Google this guy? Does he have a Wikipedia page?
No, yeah, I'm sure that he does.
Because because from my understanding is, like, the Catholic Church has distanced itself for a long time from, like, exorcisms. They don't even have, like, any active exorcists going anymore. So this sounds like great marketing material for a Hollywood film. But I would be interested to know if this dude is actually legit, or, I mean, citation needed is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, let's see if Wikipedia can provide us the answers that we need to know. Gabrielle Amorth. Oh my God.
What?
I'm going to see if I can drop in to this, and this might be beyond my
Just send me the link.
capabilities,
You can't drop the photo in, but if you drop
I
the link,
can't.
the link
Okay.
in,
You just go to
just cut and paste the
Wikipedia.
link. All right.
Go to Wikipedia of Gabrielle Amorth and have a look at the photo of him there, because he looks like a guy who was not capable of exercising his own demons. He looks very much like when Darth Vader took his helmet off, is basically what he looks like, I will say.
How do you spell Amorth?
Amorth.
TH. Okay. Gabrielle Amorth. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, less time exorcising and more time exercising is what I'm saying, Gabrielle.
In your faith, Amorth.
He really he does look. That is the perfect description. He looks like Darth Vader from the original trilogy when he takes the helmet.
Yeah.
look at those jowls. He looks part man, part hound dog.
I mean, like, maybe it takes a lot out of you to suck demons out of people.
You think he's physically sucking the dog with those cheeks
through the glorious hole? That's how he does it. He says, "You're gonna have to get up here on the roof."
He's got cheeks like bellows. My goodness, that could suck and blow.
I'm going to read you a little bit about Gabriel Amorth. He is no longer with us, unfortunately. Died 16th of September 2016, so did not, unfortunately, get to see the Bulldogs win their breakthrough premiership in the AFL, which I know very much. Did not get to see the Bulldogs exercise our demons. Was an Italian Catholic priest and exorcist of the Diocese of Rome, who performed, they say, tens of thousands of exorcisms over his 60-plus years as a priest. Okay, so
that makes
basically
sense.
60 years as a priest, 10,000 a year is what we're looking at.
That's still a lot.
Man, that's a lot. And when you put it like that, I feel like any maths I was trying to do earlier was way out.
Podcast Mike, can you just divide 10,000 by 300 and then we can work out how many he's doing a day if he indeed had 65 days off a year?
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to, I think he'd have to work weekends.
As the appointed exorcist for the Diocese of Rome, he was the chief exorcist of the Vatican. Okay. All right. He was ordained.
So he died in when? Like 2016?
2016.
So his prime era sounds like was 60s and 70s, right? That's like when he's...
I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. This is fun. In 1990, he founded the International Association of Exorcists and was president until he retired in 2000. He was honorary president for life for the association until his death. So, like, amongst exorcists, then like he's your guy, right? He's your main go-to. So what was his favorite movie, Charlie?
The Exorcist.
Yep. He thought it substantially correct and based on true events.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reckon this like he started this club and maybe he was the president, board and sole member of this club.
Yeah. Treasurer.
Yeah.
Gabriella Amorth. Exorcisms. Here we go. In October 2000, it was reported he had performed over 50,000 exorcisms, which ranged from, here we go, a few minutes to several hours in length. So some of them are going for several hours.
Yeah, one's he's doing telehealth exorcisms just over the phone, mate. Hey, what's your problem? Oh, yeah, it sounds like you got a Beelzebub. Just take 2 Panadol.
In March 2010, he said that the number had increased to 70,000.
Oh.
By May 2013, okay. Hang on. This is okay. We're going to play a little game of numbers here, Charlie.
Okay.
In October 2000, it was reported he had performed over 50,000. Fast forward 10 years later, he said that number has increased to 70,000. But you got to remember, he's getting towards like the later years of his life, right?
Yeah.
By May 2013, so 3 years after that, how many exorcisms did he claim that he had performed?
Okay. So he went from 50 to 70.
Yeah.
And then like it's a whole
over
decade,
10 years.
Decade
and then
later.
Over 3 more years. How many more?
Another 10,000.
Higher.
Another 20,000.
Higher.
Another 30,000.
Higher.
Another 50,000.
Higher.
Another 100,000.
he claimed that he had performed in total 160,000 exorcisms in the course of his ministry.
I don't like in wrestling. There is a trope when you want to push, like it could be a heel or a face, where you give him an undefeated run. You turn him into a monster. It's kind of like what they did with Goldberg in the WCW. Is like you just keep racking up the wins, and they're called squash matches. He'll come out and he'll just like kill a guy in 2 minutes, and so it's a great way to build a storyline about this unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they do it in wrestling is like, so Goldberg, his big gimmick was like, he's been undefeated in 60 matches, 70 matches. If you actually look at the timeline, he only wrestled like about 30 matches, but each time they would get to a finish, it's like, that's his 70th one in a row. I think that's what Gabriel was doing in this instance. He would do an exorcism and just tag on an extra 10,000 at the back of that.
Okay, so you're going to love this. According to Amorth, by the way, before we started this podcast, Charlie's like, I went to Splendid in the Grass, so we'll probably just talk about that and then read some letters. We will do both of those things at some point, but this is amazing.
Yeah.
So, according to Amorth, each exorcism does not represent a victim of possession, but rather, this is where we get to how many he considers to be exorcisms, but rather each exorcism is counted as a prayer or ritual alone, and some possession victims required hundreds of exorcisms. So he's running a little fucking rort here, right? Where it's like, oh, it looks like I've got to exercise you again.
Yeah. It's kind of like when they sell you a printer, the printer's cheap, but the bloody ink cartridges and the toner cost you a fortune. You got to get them every month.
Edward Peters, a professor of canon law, finds Amorth's claim to have personally performed 30,000 exorcisms over 9 years astounding. Even accepting Amorth's claim that only 94 of his 30,000 exorcisms represented full-blown possession. So what we're getting closer to the truth here, Charlie, which is that he's done 94 exorcisms. That's basically the number, I think. That would have required roughly one case a month to be thoroughly examined and processed over 9 years with hardly a break.
Right.
So
that makes more sense.
This is great too. I love this guy. I'm so into this movie. Amorth believed that a person may be possessed by more than one demon at once, sometimes numbering in the thousands, which accounts for the high number of reputed demons exorcised.
Hang on, wait a minute. But there's a terminology issue here, because he hasn't said he's performed. They didn't say he's exercised over 170,000 demons. They said he's performed over 170,000 exorcisms. Yeah. So which one is it, Gabriel?
But he's counting that's that was 1,000 today. I did 1,000 exorcisms. You had 1,000 demons. So chalk that all up.
Blah, 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 blah.
I know I quoted you for 34 demons, but once I got in there, I found 1,000. So anyway.
You got a whole nest in there. You got a nest of demons. Just one more clip before I get out of here. And while we're on the subject of the supernatural, I found an article about celebrity ghost encounters and potentially a celebrity who has been assaulting his family and blaming it on a ghost. I'll let you decide for yourselves, but I love a bit of a ghost story. In fact, if you're into the supernatural, I encourage you to go to TOFOP and check out the episodes that I've done with Ben McClay, aka Thomas Violence on Twitter. We both have a bit of a soft spot for the supernatural. We did a Halloween episode of TOFOP last year where we read out lots of different spooky stories that are posted online and deconstructed them. But this was one. This was a straight up and down, I think it was a BuzzFeed article or something about celebrity ghost encounters. Take it away, Charlie from the past. Now, back to Kendrick. So I decided to do a bit of digging online just to find out, who is this Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah.
And I stumbled across this article, which it just made me laugh so much. And I've read it a couple of times. This is from Rolling Stone. Okay. So it's a legitimate publication. And it is 13 musicians with paranormal experiences.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, The little intro is Halloween is right around the... Who wrote this article? This is doesn't give a right. It's just by Rolling Stone. Halloween is right around the corner, but according to some of your favorite musicians, so is the occasional ghost. Okay. So Kendrick Lamar. Now, can you guess what his paranormal encounter was? I might give it away. He had an encounter with the spirit of a famous dead rapper.
Did he just see the Tupac hologram at Coachella and think that it was a ghost? Because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Kendrick was having a big time at Coachella, and then he's backstage and they're testing that Tupac hologram, and he thought he'd talk to the ghost of Tupac Shakur.
Acclaimed rap artist and activist Kendrick Lamar claims to have been visited in his sleep.
Yeah.
By the ghost of legendary Tupac Shakur.
Yeah. It's the hologram.
I agree.
Other rappers,
it was the hologram.
Like Eminem and Dr. Dre are punking Kendrick Lamar with the hologram of Tupac.
Lamar spoke of the incident to Homegrown Radio, recalling how Shakur's silhouette came to him and said, "Keep doing what you're doing, man. Don't let my music die." Now, if it's in silhouette, my understanding of silhouette is you are completely concealed by shadow. That's what a silhouette is, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so if I had to describe Tupac in silhouette, it would be like sort of muscular, shirtless, with that bandana tied backwards.
Yep. That's how
that could literally be anyone who was muscular and bald with the bandana tied backwards. It could have been Dr. Dre pranking him.
It could have been, but like I said, Dre's already paid all that money for the Tupac hologram. He's already got that. Why would he even have to bother dressing up himself?
This experience later inspired Kendrick to the closing of the song "To Pimp a Butterfly," titled "Mortal Man," in which he samples his real-life interview with the fallen rap legend in 1994.
Now, here's what I was going to say. I thought it was going to be when he met Ghostface Killer. And he came in to rap on your album, man. He's not an actual ghost. He was just in Wu-Tang.
The next artist, Ace Frehley from Kiss, has a connection to the other side.
Okay, yep.
Founding Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley recounts two different occasions when both his wife and daughter were violently pushed down the steps of their home by what he claims to be a ghost. Your Honor. Is there a worse, more pathetic excuse than they were pushed by a ghost?
By a ghost? I mean, come on. Like,
so who lives in your house?
And your child.
Just me, my wife, my child, and me.
And a ghost.
And a ghost. Who likes to drink too much and push people down the stairs. Oh, and wears Starman face makeup. I mean, no, he doesn't. Ace said, "I always had a sense that here was some type of connection with me and the other side," he explained on Celebrity Ghost Story. Not long after Frehley purchased a large family home in Westchester, he noticed things being moved around from place to place. Mm-hmm. He once discovered his daughter at the foot of the staircase. Mm-hmm. Frehley attributed whatever presence he'd noticed in the home must have been an evil spirit. So hang on. He once discovered his daughter at the foot of the staircase. But what? Like as in, it doesn't say, was she prone? Was she just standing there?
Well, I assume that this
Didn't they make an entire Netflix true crime series about this?
Yeah, this is the original plot of the staircase. Yeah. It was Ace Frehley and his child. I think that the implication here is that she's been pushed down the stairs. That he's discovered her at the bottom of the stairs, having been pushed down the stairs by this ghost. Okay,
all right. Let's just role play. I call you up, Will.
Who am I?
And you say, "How you going, man?" I'm like, "Not great."
Am I
Gems
me? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, you're
right.
You're you and I'm me.
Okay.
Gems had to take Iona to the hospital. You're like, "Oh no, what happened?"
What happened,
man? I saw a ghost push her down the stairs.
Okay, man, you've got to go to jail. I'll come over and I'll take you to jail.
I'm not even going to entertain the thought. Not even going
to directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I'm taking you to prison, man.
Unsurprisingly, Ace Frehley's marriage fell apart and his daughter moved out after the incident.
Did she move out or was she pushed out by a ghost? That's what I want to know.
Once he moved back to the property with his new wife.
What?
Uh-oh.
You've got like a deathly spirit in your house. You can't bring a new wife in. Oh, don't tell me she's been pushed down the stairs as well.
She immediately picked up on the eeriness without even knowing about the spirit in the staircase. She too claims to have been pushed down those same steps.
Oh my God.
A psychic told Freely that his house had previously been inhabited by an abusive mother who'd murdered her children in the home.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that is the most likely explanation for the series of events that have been described.
I mean, I imagine the new wife wakes up unconscious at the bottom of the stairs. And he's standing over and he's like, oh my God, I told you about my ex-wife, my daughter, how they left? Because that ghost he pushed you as well. I saw the whole thing.
You know what the interesting thing is? That the ghost has pushed his new wife, his old wife, and his child down the stairs. But here's what I'm not hearing from this description. Has this ghost ever pushed Ace Freely down the stairs? No, right?
Well, yeah.
And I rest my case, Your Honor.
And that's it. New episodes of TOFOP and FOFOP will be coming back in the next couple of weeks. Just one more week of compilations to go. I encourage you in the meantime to go to tofop.com and check out some of our other great podcasts. TOFOP, FOFOP, Two Guys, One Cup. We're actually doing new episodes of Two Guys, One Cup, a summer series, I should say. Two Guys, One Cup, My Club, where I sit down with various celebrities and chat to them about the Aussie football, what the fuck am I talking about? The AFL footy teams they support, the teams they love and sometimes hate. That is going to be running all summer, right leading up into this new season. So you can check that out. Lots of great celebrity guests on it already. Lots of great celebrity guests coming up. Two Guys, One Cup, My Club, available on the Listener app. But for now, I'm Charlie Clausen.
How long? Not long. Everyone relax.